As Mr. RCole and Mr. Michael Williams, all members of the mentoring organization Unique Gents. And of course, let me welcome the three of you to the show this morning.
Thank you.
And tell you how delighted we are to have you with us today, Mr. JThrealkilll. And let's start with you, Mr. JThrealkilll, by having you to take a couple of minutes to make some statements in reference to who you are. Mr. Cole will make additional statements in reference to his situation, and of course Mr. Michael Williams will also give that information. By that time we should be through with this first segment, and then we'll get into some issues dealing with your organization. Let's start off with you, Mr. JThrealkilll.
Thank you, Dr. Haney, and it's an absolute pleasure to be on your program, especially after having been on your program some 30 years ago to talk about a similar topic. So really appreciate your work in this area and providing a voice for the community. But I'm a native Nashvilleian, grew up in 3 public housing communities and went to high school at East Nashville High School, and upon graduation had an athletic scholarship to play football at Vanderbilt University. After that, I went back to the neighborhoods I grew up in to conduct art classes. I was an art major, and subsequently went to work for the mayor's office of Nashville, Mayor Phil Bredesen. I went from there to teaching art at Montgomery Bell Academy, and also spent 7 years working at the Edge Hill Community Center as a community services director and art director. And then in my current role, I'm a diversity director for a construction management company called Skanska. But I think my most important job is being the father to Keziah and Zoe, my 2 daughters, and just trying to guide them in becoming productive young people and eventually productive adults.
Very good. I can say that they are going the right way. I had an opportunity to meet the 2 of them.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cole, what about your situation?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Dr. Haney, and again, thank you for having us this morning. My name is Ricky Cole, and I'm the president of the Unique Gents mentoring organization. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I grew up in East Nashville, where I had an opportunity to go to Meigs Junior High School and attend East High School, where I graduated, played sports, football and basketball while I was in high school, and got a scholarship to attend Tennessee State University to play basketball, and played basketball at Tennessee State. Presently, I've been working with the state of Tennessee now for about 33 years, and I'm a rehab therapist at Middle Tennessee Mental Health Institute.
Very good. Michael?
How you doing? Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm native of Nashville, born in West Nashville. I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I'm a member of Unique Gents. This organization, I'm a true product of the organization. These men have guided me through life and come up to be a young man that I am today. Actually, I'm a probation officer at the moment. I attended Bethel College, played football there, and here I am now. I have a criminal justice degree.
Very good. And of course, I would imagine, Mr. Williams, that being a probation officer, you really come in contact with young African-American males. You know?
I do, and it's adults. I see a lot of them on many occasions that they've made the wrong mistake. They had no guidance, and that's what it usually comes from. We don't have a father figure in the household to guide us to become young men in life. So we're out there left to our own desires, our own thoughts, which is very dangerous in a sense. So I see guidance being a big key, a big issue that needs to be attacked.
And so the 3 of you working with the organization Unique Gents
yes,
have an opportunity, as we indicated earlier, Mr. JThrealkilll, to come in contact with a large number of young African-American males
yes, sir.
that are having real difficult problems in terms of being successful. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir. We've had great mentors ourselves coming up, and one in particular that we'll talk about in the next segment was Mr. Edward Mullins, who served as a role model for many of us. And we're trying to carry on his legacy in terms of working with young people to keep them on track. And that's what the Unique Gents organization is all about.
And of course, what we're doing, I think we've got about 40 more seconds in this particular segment. And then when we come back, we'll allow the 3 of you to take about 8 minutes, we've got an 8-minute segment, to talk about some of the things that you are doing in terms of dealing with mentoring African-American youth. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. The topic is African American youth, mentoring African American youth, and we're using an organization known as the Unique Gents to demonstrate some of the mentoring activities that this organization has been involved with. And we're talking to Mr. Michael Williams, Mr. Cole, and Mr. JThrealkilll. And let's start off with you, Mr. Williams, by having you to make some statements in reference to your organization or mentoring or however you wish to approach it over the next couple of minutes.
All right, thank you, Dr. Haney. Well, we try to target young black males in our community, which mostly we grow up without male figures in our household. So if we take the time to give them those basic attributes, those skills, those life skills, how to be a young man, how to be a gentleman, how to carry yourself in a sense. So we take these things and even instill dedication, discipline in these individuals. So it's more than just being there, it's teaching in the same breath. So this is an approach that we come at, and also awareness, because you got to know your history. So when it comes down to it, you want to be able to know where you come from and where you're going.
Mr. Cole?
You know, Dr. Haney, I really feel like that our community, for our young black African-American young men, we have a problem with self-image. Our young men grow up, they don't really know about self. We're talking about self-image. We're talking about self-esteem, self-awareness, self-development. And that comes from the home. And that comes from being able to watch a man in a home, or watching other men that you may look up to or as a role model, and to develop your own personality. And it just seems like there's not enough of that. There's not enough character building. And one thing the Unique Gents try to do is to build character in young men and help them to understand how to carry themselves. And there's so many topics that these young men we can talk about in our mentoring sessions, because these young men need to know that how to treat a woman. The young men need to know how to carry themselves. And a lot of these things that you see in the news currently are things that we're trying to teach our African American young men. And what helps us be able to teach them is that when they do see it on the news and it's actually happening, then we can bring it back to the table in our mentoring sessions and show these young men, okay, this is the way you should handle this situation. And it's usually very helpful, a helpful tool. But we just try to get as many young men as we can on board to show them and to teach them some of the things that we were taught by Edward Junebug Mullins, who was the founder of our organization when we were young men.
Mr. JThrealkilll?
Yes, sir. And Mr. Cole and I represent a coalition of former classmates, former teammates that we all played sports with in the East Nashville community at East High School. And we had individuals who paved the way for us to have examples of success. We are trying to connect the young people today with the history of the civil rights movement and all the things that went into place to help them have access to opportunities, and then also trying to get them to understand the importance of education and the role that it plays in developing a successful career and lifestyle for yourself. And so we're modeling that behavior. We're celebrating community. We do an annual event that we're in our 11th year where we celebrate families, community, and successful individuals. And Mr. Michael Williams represents a young man who came to us who may have been in a difficult situation, but because of the exposure to the men in the Unique Gents organization has totally transformed his life to the point where he's a role model for a lot of young men that we're working with. We even named an award after him that we present at our program every year, just as an example of recognizing excellence, because our young men have the potential for success and greatness. Someone just needs to instill in them the belief that they can accomplish those things so that they learn how to respect women, how to be disciplined with their finances, and how to just conduct themselves in scenarios where they may come in contact with law enforcement and proper behavior and things of that nature that are important to their development and growth.
What do you think about the organization that you became involved in? How did you, Mr. Williams, become involved in this organization?
Well, I was brought upon with another member that was involved in my life, and he felt personally that this organization came back together and would help guide me in the right direction. I personally came into the organization with an open mind, knowing that I needed something in life, not knowing at the time
what
it
it
was.
but you needed.
But I needed something because I was left, like I said, I was out in the community, left to my own demise, doing whatever I thought was okay. But I had men come into my life and show me, hey, this is how you walk, this is how you speak, this is how you carry yourself. But before that, I was out there loose-minded, had no guidance. So, but I was also able to get some awareness. So I had certain qualities within me that just needed a little nurturing, and they grew. They put the blocks in the right place.
And they were able to recognize the potential that you had as soon as you became involved. Is that right, what you do, Mr. Cole?
That is, and I'd like to just say a little bit about how we came about. As Unique Gents, well, about 40 years ago, there was a social club put together at Douglas Community Center, and it was put together by Edward Mullins. And what happened was we were a social club that was performing all around the state of the Nashville area in various talent shows. And from the very beginning, we were named the Unique Gents. And in that organization, where our founder was Edward Mullins, we found different ways of spending our time other than just being out and being loose, like Michael was just talking about, and being idle. We were able to be in an organization that taught us how to do various things in the community. We did a lot of community service work. We did a lot of things in the community center. And so it showed us by doing volunteer work and by being busy doing things, it really, Dr. Haney kept us out of trouble when we were young.
Mr. JThrealkilll, how did you become involved with the Unique Gents?
Well, I grew up in East Nashville, and so I was aware of the Unique Gents and the performances that they did. And so at Mr. Mullins' untimely passing, the gentlemen came together and rededicated themselves to continuing his legacy through community service, through working with youth, working with seniors, and that type of thing. And so I was honored that they asked me to become a part of this reinvigorated group of men who were dedicated to working in the community. And so they asked me to be vice president, and it's been an exciting opportunity to have an impact on our communities that we grew up in.
And so the three of you are still working diligently in terms of trying to reach out and bring young African-American men for the most part, but you're not especially limited to African-American men. I would imagine you're open to any individual who might want to become a part of what you're doing. Is that what you're
Absolutely. Saying? We work with anyone who's interested in getting those kind of resources.
Very good. And of course, we're going to take our final commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll have 10 minutes to give the three of you an opportunity to talk about some of the things that you think are important and how we might be able to help you do what you do.
Yes, sir.
And we'll be back with you following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. The topic is mentoring African American youth, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about mentoring African American youth members of the Unique Gents organization, Mr. JThrealkilll, Mr. Cole, and Mr. Michael Williams. And of course, gentlemen, this is the last segment that we have here today.
Yes,
we're going to start with Mr. Williams and give you an opportunity to make some statements that you'd like to make in reference to the topic, mentoring African American youth, or perhaps you might wish to say something about the Unique Gents itself, however the three of you wish to address that.
Thank you, Dr. Haney. Well, with this topic, the Unique Gents itself, for me personally, gave me a new life. And I was able to grow in a sense to have great attributes, to be able to be focused, to have faith as a foundation, and to be able to understand what it means to have a brotherhood. So I didn't have any of those things growing up on my own. So with this organization coming together the way they did and nurturing me, growing me from the inside out, I'm able to do the same thing for others. So it's a give back idea.
I want to say that Mike has been a wonderful role model in our organization, because when I say that a young man made a 360 in his behavior and his attitude, Michael Williams is that person who really has come along and become an upstanding citizen. And I just want to thank him for being the person that he is. But I think most of all, Dr. Haney, one of the things that comes to my mind about our young men is balance. And that's one of the things that the Unique Gents organization try to give these young men, because there are just so many things that they're not introduced to on a daily basis, and particularly in the homes where young men doesn't have fathers. And so when they come into our organization, we try to make sure that they got the balance of things that they need, and discussions and an opportunity to talk. Those are the big things, as well as things that they may need to do in the community. We do a lot of community service work with our young men. And so we think those things are important. We try to provide it, and we just look at ways in which we could help young men in this community.
Now, Mr. JThrealkilll, all of these things work well, but what about resources? Let's talk about, because I think that we've indicated earlier that there's simply not enough financial resources to keep these organizations growing. And I know that you're a 501c organization and whatever, and that you accept donations and et cetera. But what should people try to do? I mean, in terms of, just speak to the general community in terms of what we need to do in order to help some of these young folks stay out of jail or killing one another and et cetera. You know, just break it down from that perspective.
Well, Dr. Haney, as a nonprofit organization, of course, donations help us continue our mission in working with the young men. And so we always welcome that opportunity from corporations that are working with us in terms of supporting our efforts, and then also connecting the young men from a spiritual perspective. You know, we have the support of Bethel Church, where Mr. Cole attends, and St. John's Missionary Church, and also the East Nashville High School Alumni Association, and using their facility for a meeting location. And so those resources give us an opportunity to bring the young men in and spend one-on-one time with them, and really try to show them that, you know, a lot of role models that you see today are either athletes or entertainers. And too many times our young people think those are the only options for them career-wise. And so after stressing the importance of education, we want to show them careers related to education, science, other fields, computer science, the medical field, and let them know that there are other options out there, and helping them to identify their skills and how they translate into a career, whether you want to be in communications or art like myself, and exposing them to those things to help them understand that their world is a lot broader than their immediate neighborhood, and giving them some examples of how to treat young women so that they can be respectful candidates for husbands one day, and stop creating so much wealth for the prison industry, where too many of our young people are locked up and wasting away because of some mistake that they made that they didn't realize would be pretty much a negative impact on their lives for days to come. And so we feel those kinds of examples are important. And so you know, organizations, individual donations are always welcome, but we also have members in the Unique Gents organizations that pay dues also that help us fund our efforts as well, and just really have that kind of commitment from young men who are all professionals in some field. We have business owners, we have former NFL athletes, and all of those men are bringing those resources to the young men that we're working with.
And you know, Dr. Haney, I feel like that when you're working with these young men, if you can't let them know that they are loved by other men,
Right.
and if you can't, you can't get these young men to trust you, then you're not getting your job done. You got to build the trust, and you also got to show these young men that you do love them. And once they know that, because they can feel it, and once they know that, then it takes them a long way. But just to talk to your point, as far as being able to donate to our organization, because we accept donations, we have a P.O. box number, which is 60386, Nashville, Tennessee 37206, if one would like to donate. Or you can go to our website at uniquegents.org, of course, and to donate. So I just wanted to say that to the public too, that if you want to know more about the Unique Gents, please visit our website at uniquegents.org.
And so, Mr. Williams, you can say from your own personal point of view what this organization not only has done for you, but for others as well. And so it did enough for you to want to come back to replicate what they did for you with somebody else. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir, we are. Actually, we've had this organization grow upon not just me, but several other young men. And the biggest part about being able to give back is to show that that's the future. We're feeding into our future. So we want to nourish it. It's just, and then, like I said, going back to the donation portion of it, it doesn't have to be a large corporation that comes in and helps. I had got help from local community, local grocery stores. They've been able to help put food on my family's table, and when we didn't have it. So being able to, you can help in many ways. It doesn't have to be in a big way. It can be in a small way. Just being able to know someone that's in need. And at the time I was in need, this organization was put there in an opportunity to feed me, not just physically but spiritually. So I was able to grow. Like I said, faith was a wonderful foundation that this organization has had, and I'm so thankful for it. And that other young men, I know for a fact that are thankful for it, because they continuously come and participate and get a lot out of it.
And Dr. Haney, Michael is a perfect example of a young man who came to understand that being academically excellent was okay and cool. There's a lot of times too much peer pressure on our young people that there's something wrong with demonstrating your intelligence. And so we really try to strive to help them understand that you can play sports and do anything, but you can also compete in the classroom, and that there's something positive about being associated with excellence and, you know, showing that you're capable of performing academically. He graduated with honors when he graduated from Pearl Cone, and that was an example for other young men to see that a football player can be smart in the classroom too, and they need to understand that they're capable of doing those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
And with the organization being able to show me that I can be a thinker, I took the opportunity to apply myself more, and that's all I needed was the encouragement, the know-how, and to know that I can do it.
And somebody to believe in you.
And somebody to
somebody to show some kind of love, understanding, goodwill, and that kind of thing toward you. And if they believed in you, you wanted to do well because you didn't want to let them down.
Yes, sir.
And, yeah, I can understand that. And I think that we can say that, looking back at my own career, my own background and et cetera, there were folks in my own life that helped to bring me along. And I understand what all the three of you are doing. And what I want to do is to thank you for coming by and giving us that excellent information, and to have had an opportunity to see all three of you in work, in action, in a real sense, and I've been encouraged, because I know that we've got a large number of problems in this society, but we've got to do it somewhere.
Absolutely.
And I think that your organization is doing a great job in terms of doing it. And everything that we've heard in reference to you, and I want to thank the three of you for coming by. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and